height and the transportation of things that we've heard, to ask questions about that, hoping to pull out more evidence. And then if we didn't hear enough evidence, because I was like you, I was going to propose too that it be postponed.
Yeah.
If we didn't hear answers or evidence relative to some of the concerns. So I'm thinking it's better, in case you're talking about, to go ahead and start the public hearing, try to get the evidence on the table. And then if we aren't comfortable,
You're talking about for future examples, not
Right,
necessarily
right.
this one, because,
right, this is a good test case of
yeah,
specific,
See, and in this example, you could say, we're not going to grant a continuance. We're gonna open the public hearing, and if the applicant's not here to carry their burden,
yeah,
they lose.
which
Yeah.
frankly,
That's what
that's a,
judges.
that's a lose-lose
that's
situation.
a bad play to
Everybody
bad way to
loses
play
it,
ball,
yeah.
right, so.
Yeah, some people are happy, but
I mean, it's clear that the applicant, may have worked into a proverbial buzzsaw and wants to reconsider, so
it's interesting, because, I've had a couple people talk to me, I keep saying, come to the meeting, public hearing, all that kind of stuff. But one gentleman was very upset last week after hearing some information last week, talking to me yesterday, the day before, he said, it's really not that bad. So part of a situation like this is the public is lacking some information, and they also don't have a picture of what else is happening in the area.
it's been telephone, it's
Yeah,
partial
and
truths.
so- During a public hearing, if we can phrase questions, that's why I was wondering what we can
Right,
do.
right.
We can maybe help get some evidence on the table that will reduce the fear and anxiety for some of the people. Not all people, but some. You get shot less often, but still get shot.
Yeah, so as difficult as it is to tell all those folks, we're not gonna have the hearing tonight,
Okay.
we may never have the hearing. If this body feels that there's no need to go forward tonight, that's what you say. If we've been asked to postpone it, that's what we're gonna do. And if it comes back up, notice will be issued and you'll get a chance. As difficult as that.
Another suggestion, yeah, I have a lot of respect for Gail, but he was caught off guard. And so I don't know if he's willing to sit down with you or somebody else and really go through how to, the next time we have standing room only, here's some help, ways to run it.
Yeah, I think Gail knew that if there was going to be opposition. It's pretty common for us to meet with the chair of the planning commission in advance of those meetings.
Okay.
But I think what he didn't expect was, how dialed up the emotion got. And he knows how to run a meeting.
He's really done a great job,
But,
he really has.
you know, the iron gavel technique sometimes doesn't go.
If we're moving on from procedure, I think, and I suggested it to Kelly, that we need to look at our high-density zoning, how we are going to, I think we need to start approaching that, and looking at that going forward. Where can we put that where it's less impactful? Jerry Hort, Mayor Pro Tem before Collins said, if it's the first thing in, there's not opposition. If it's the second thing in, there's lots of opposition. So I think we as a board should look forward, find some areas, I think 392 is the place, but I think if people obviously know about it in advance, instead of.
You're gonna have Stacy not happy with that though, because that's
That might almost
the
be too late
commercial
for that.
corridor, yeah.
But it's a crowbar in, high-density residential after everything is built around it. It's a tough sell. And I think if we're, today, being a little more proactive about it, where we might want it, where we can talk to developers about setting aside places for it, that would be my suggestion.
Well, and that was the intention for the CAC, was higher density.
And there's gonna be
Right.
some, and that's part of his plan, next to that.
Well, I'd be happy to, we've got Metro District discussion, and when Miles and I were talking about it, it is called out as an element of comprehensive plan. It doesn't go as specific, so, what we could do is tell you what the comprehensive plan says and have that discussion as a group, and then decide if you wanna do,
We need to do
More.
more.
Does Rain Dance have any? I don't know, but
Yeah.
is this something we need to go to the developer and say, if you're thinking of this, we need to look at it now? That would be my suggestion. If we can be proactive about We know it's coming, we know we need it.
Would you like to talk about high density zoning or multifamily as part of your comprehensive plan?
Yeah, I think
pretty
it'd be a
soon?
good proactive term.
Sure.
Right.
Okay.
We were talking about traffic,
Oh,
this is hugely impactful to traffic, so.
sure. Okay.
Sure.
Do we wanna talk about, what you
Chamber?
wanna present to the chamber on
Sure.
Wednesday, make sure that everybody is.
So, when was that, December, we had a discussion about where, or what the town currently contributes to the chamber. Chamber, or the town has been giving, how long has the town been giving the chamber 20,000 for?
As long as I've been here.
It's 25,000,
At least
I
2 years,
I think it's 20, because we were,
but that's 25.
is it 25? Okay, so,
20 plus 5. It's 5 for
our membership.
our, yeah,
Okay,
and
and
then
then
20.
an additional 20.
Right.
So, okay, well, I'll clarify that. 'Cause I think I may have said the wrong number. In any case, I said down to, so basically what we've been talking about, or what we talked about then, is making it so that the town of Windsor is only contributing the highest level of membership to the Chamber of Commerce, with the potential of them submitting for sponsorship, for various events.
For specific events? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
So not like, we need 20 grand for events, but we want
For
3,000 for
specific
this
events, yeah.
event, okay.
Cause,
We-
yeah,
Yeah, so right now, we fear that the issue is to some degree that we're, cutting them $25,000 a year, and we're not really seeing what it's coming back through. So the idea is by being the highest level member, and making them come to present their different events to the board, we'll get a better idea of what's actually happening with the contribution.
There's a chance that they may just be sponsors of our events, if we take over something that, maybe could they
I mean-
co-sponsor, and then we're not sending money, or,
without them spending money?
no, without sending money back and forth,
Oh.
like, okay, we're gonna do this event, but maybe they wanna help have their name on it, I don't know. Instead of us giving them money to run it,
Well, yeah.
I don't know. if
can of
we're gonna
worms
spend
open
on-
up.
It-
Huh?
It's always been inferred that the free hamburger fry is one of the big things.
Yep.
Right.
To spend our money on. I don't know what
Right.
else they do, but.
Well, Windsor Wonderland started out as their event,
Right.
but over the years, and especially last year, it practically evolved into nothing but more of a town event.
And,
I mean, and more of their events that we have partnered with them have started to take kind of that emergence. They've become, somewhat reliant on the fact that the town has certain resources and people that will step up to do everything. So they've got one person, but like the All-Town Barbecue, at least, and that's when we met with them last month, Brendan?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago.
Because we met with the vice, he's the secretary now, Mr. Prager, and their exec director, and Stacy Johnson met with us. We all sat around and talked, but that's what we talked about is, and we said it's not based on the fact whether you wanna do the barbecue or you don't wanna do the barbecue. But the barbecue is truly the one event that they do right now that has a larger number of chamber participation than anything else they do, because they usually have most of their board is the cooks, their folk, a lot of their businesses come.
huge.
And so this is kind of a change, it will force them to kind of rethink a change in philosophy about what they're doing and, how they're putting on events and creating sponsorships.
I'm just seeing what Eric is doing, being very proactive and growing this event group that he's doing. I wonder if they could just tag on to ours and let us, just an idea.
It depends what your vision is of of what you want your chamber to do
Yes.
and be.
Yep.
But again, it also depends on what their vision is and what the chamber wants to be. And I
Yep.
think Stacy even asked that of them a couple of times. And I don't know that they, as a board, have a really clear thought of that, because they kept coming back to us.
Yeah.
Well, what does the town want? What does the town wanna
Yeah.
see? Well, we're gonna have a whole new website, and you guys can put articles up there every week. And then I said, it's not up to us to provide you, as
Your
great as it
content?
is,
Yeah.
your content, we're not your content providers. So it seems like everything they've been kind of dependent on us.
Mhm.
And this is kind of a little bit of a breakaway to force them to, I mean, and I think we're happy to
Stand on their own.
participate. Like if they do, like I had heard floating around, they were contemplating a job expo. So if they, like something like that, if they wanna come and say, hey, we're doing X, Y, Z, we've got these sponsor levels, do you wanna be a sponsor for this, this new event?
Is the chamber strong enough to do that though, or are they
That's-
just going to kind of slowly fold?
Either that, or maybe they will it will be the thing that strengthens them to be the catalyst for
Yeah.
change.
That's, I'm just wondering though, if we do this, do they just kind of dry up and go away real slowly, or do they actually embrace
I
it?
don't-
Or do they step up and,
I don't think they'll go away, and quite frankly, we have the president's support on this. He wants there to be a change.
What do we do with, and what they're doing with the 12 by 12, the noon hour meetings, the after hours business meetings, and then the night that they're bringing people in, the Chamber of Commerce night? I mean, those kinds of things, don't they desire, I think, don't they deserve some funding from the town, just as much as the, festival, the fall festival? I mean, we give them money and don't hesitate, and so,
We're gonna give them the top level of membership, that's $5,000.
and they can come to us and ask for more sponsorship money.
Yeah.
These networking events, because knowing I'm part of the DDA that's hosting this Wednesday, the chamber has no money out of their pocket to put on that event. They expect the folks who are putting the event on, we have to put up all of we have to provide the beverage, the food, the door prizes, anything that, they show up, they take your name as you walk in the door and give you a name tag.
And that's on top of the 25,000 a year,
20,000.
or 20,000 plus the membership.
So
So
I
it's
don't
actually
think
a lot
that
more than that if we
warrants
start looking at it.
anything additional beyond the top level membership.
well, I'm just asking the question.
And I-
Because I look at their part in the community, and I think they're gonna try to stay strong and get stronger. And as we grow, I'm not supporting them, because I don't know that much about it, but I know they're trying to do I sense that they're trying to do some things. Have any of you ever been to the noon meeting? You have, and I have. And I like what they're doing there. They're giving us, the town board members, a chance to, say what's going on and then people that are there, 12 people, ask questions. I don't know,
But again, see, do you know who's putting that on more? Do you
we're
not notice?
We're not involved, we don't hear
No,
about it.
Stacy's running that whole show. And again, it's turned into, and it actually was Stacy's idea.
Well, it's a good idea.
So,
So,
as was, again,
give
I
Stacy
think,
the 5,000.
I think this gives them the opportunity to, figure out
Sink or swim.
where they're going, what they wanna be, and how they're gonna deliver.
Well, I think it's fiscally responsible for the town too, to say, we are going to do top level membership here. And for any additional, dollars for sponsorship, you have to come and show cause effectively. And I think that's reasonable, we do that with many different other organizations and causes, and I think it's reasonable for us to look back and say, well, maybe it's time to see what's actually happening here.
Well, look at how much we scrutinize the Harvest Fest. I mean, that's
Oh,
the number
yeah.
one, that's the number one thing I think of.
Yeah.
Oh, you wanna bring in a new artist that's gonna cost, you have to,
Right.
Show cause, show what you're doing with it. So,
So is
I'm-
everybody okay with him, because he's going to deliver that,
Yeah.
this
I'm probably
Wednesday.
gonna send an email to, so it's not a heart attack when it happens on Wednesday, but what I'm gonna say is, I'm gonna say that the town will be doing the highest level membership, $5,000. That will be the maximum that'll be what we're.
Minimum.
The minimum, that is, what is it, the town is immediately contributing to the chamber.
But it's a maximum for them at their level,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah,
But we could give them more.
yeah, but that they can come back to the town, for
Sponsorship.
sponsorship
Specific-
events and
Specific events.
for specific events,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Or
that's fair.
functions.
Or
I think in
functions.
chamber vernacular.
I'll say events and functions.
Functions, that's
Is that fair?
And if they were smart, what they would do is they'd look at their entire year-long calendar, right? And they'd plan out and figure out where the town best fits in. Instead of one-on-one, they kind of put it all into some kind of initial package and
Yeah.
present that and say, okay, over the course of the next year,
Mhm.
here's where we feel, you know, the town is would be a good sponsor, and here's what you get in return.
I think that's an important point, because like, if we go the other way, where every week they come to us for this week's function, next week's function, next week's.
Well, they
I
can
don't
keep
think they
doing
would,
that, eventually
but
they're gonna,
The door would be open.
yeah, they're
but-
gonna,
So I think encouraging them to target where we most, can be beneficial. Great.
Where's the DDA fit in all that? What level are they at?
Membership wise? I don't know if they're a member, are they not?
I mean,
chamber?
why do they get the amount of money they get?
The DDA,
The DDA,
They're statutory
Such a big pay
governing
tax.
body.
we have an IGA.
yeah,
But why do we, I mean.
My question is why?
because I think they represent an entire district in downtown.
I don't have the same feeling, because I think they're not using the money the way they should be, that we do give them. And they're not, for 15 years, I've seen the same thing, or however many years they've been in. But I mean, that's just my feeling, and I think I have a right to say it, but I don't know if I'm right. And you're very much involved, but we keep giving them money, and I don't see any results.
Look out the window.
Oh,
Yeah, I agree that-
that was-
Without all the money that they had been, that would not be there.
The back alley study,
Nor the RFP out for the developer, for the,
right,
yeah.
right.
for all
Or the
that.
facade
Or
grants.
the,
that
or the
Facade
pending
grants.
contract on the other
So I
piece of
see
property.
things being done, I mean,
Well,
I
I mean,
think a lot of
things
us
are,
might see
things
it
are being
faster.
done, I know that.
but.
But,
yeah.
oh, you answered my question. I just asked, where do they fit in this donation thing?
Well, nor should we forget that leadership has just changed with the DDA too, because of
And.
all the above.
And the last thing is you get the statutory approval of the budget.
Right.
So if you don't like something, you can say no.
Well, and it's not necessarily us, we're giving back money that they're earning within their own district too. So it's not like it's just money that we're
Hey,
pulling
don't get
out.
me wrong, I'm in full support of what the DDA is attempting to do. I just want to go faster. That's the only, I'm,
So let's, if you don't mind, Ivan, that's a good transition to something we should try to advise you about.
that's good.
Is that their legal counsel is going to advise the DDA board Wednesday
Yeah.
that they should be following the statutory calendar, which says their board is seated in
June.
June.
June 30th.
30th. Now, nobody can, we can't, and I'm sorry, I should know, I don't recall how we got on April. They are on April, we are, but they should be, and I think Ian agrees, that the advice is probably the correct advice to their board, because it is statutory. So they will talk about it Wednesday, which means that your appointments will not go into effect till June 30th.
Interesting.
Can I mention one other thing? I wanted to double check the date for the meeting and everything for the DDA on Wednesday. On the website, it says DDA regular scheduled meetings are on the third Wednesday of every month, which would not,
That's correct. Isn't that the third Wednesday next
that's the
Wednesday?
second Wednesday.
We were talking about the chamber is meeting this Wednesday.
Yeah, Chamber's meeting this Wednesday
This
morning.
Wednesday,
Yeah.
Is the chamber meeting this Wednesday? Is the DDA meeting this Wednesday?
It's next Wednesday.
It is, sorry, I'm what it's.
It is, the DDA meeting's the 19th, the
Yeah.
chamber meeting's the 12th.
Yeah, that was my mistake.
I just wanted to make sure that that was,
But if a term is defined for them and the term ends in April, how are we able to just say now it's gonna go?
You probably need to align your terms with statutes.
So that's what I'm wondering, are the terms actually defined for us? That is a 4-year term.
It's a 4-year term,
Started in April of 2013.
but by statute, it runs until June 30th, so.
It should have been running
appointments-
June to June.
Yeah, the appointments should have been June to June for 4-year terms. But somehow, somewhere
We
along
don't
the
know,
line, we
yeah.
started making those appointments in April.
Huh.
So then we started thinking, well, they run through April on a 4-year cycle.
Did we
And
ever
it's-
run them in June?
No,
I'm not even sure we ever did.
no.
No, I don't think anybody was really aware of this statute, because it's a state statute, and it's not part of our charter.
Right.
It's not part of the DDA's
Right.
charter,
It's
it
part
is a
of DDA's
state, I
governance.
think it's a state statute, right?
Right.
That's around DDA specific.
But is that for a statutory town, or can a home rule make their own?
Well, if you've created a statutory authority, you're stuck with that law. And, you know, I think what happened was, we got them, we approved their creation late in a calendar year, then early the following calendar year, we got fired up. We did the interviews, we had people stepping up wanting to be in, so next thing you knew, we were going in April. You know, we didn't wanna wait until June. But once we started doing it in April, it just kept going, and now we need to get
So-
on the
Back on
right
track.
side.
So
Yeah.
is there any action that the board, that we need to take for those 2 months between April and June 30th?
No,
We
because,
would
Yeah,
not
because-
advise that, unless you go back and change
I don't
your.
want to, but I'm just
Yep.
wondering if there was any legal thing that had to be done
so
to
the,
extend their term until June 30th or.
so the folks that are in those seats, everyone will run through June 30th of the year in which their term expires,
Okay.
including those who are currently thinking they are expired when they're.
Does that mean we delay in future
Yep.
Appointments.
appointments? Well,
So, but, so the other party that you've appointed though can still attend the meeting? I mean, if you choose,
Oh,
if you would like until June 30th, you just can't be seated at the board yet, but. And I think it's gonna be highly recommended to him that he's come and kinda get, up to speed.
Mhm.
Did our recommendation for the alternate accept?
Nobody knows.
Yeah, won't know
We'll
until
know
next
June
Wednesday.
Okay.
July 1st.
Stay tuned.
So on that note, just a question, are we absolutely positive, given this, that they are an actual DDA, or are they structured in some other way?
They're an actual DDA,
We're sure of that.
yes.
Yeah.
That part I'm sure.
They're actually their own nation.
Well,
United States of.
There's lots of
Mechanisms out there for doing what they do.
Right, yeah.
Are they a DDA, or are they a URA, are they?
No,
is it
they
approved?
are,
This is
they
definitely
were used out to
DDA.
DDA.
Okay,
Yeah.
just making sure.
I know, there's
Now
been,
you
I mean,
ask.
there's been a lot of questions that we thought we were
Yeah.
on the right track and we have, but I think we understand, we're all on the right track now.
Yeah. And I respect the lawyers stopping and saying, you know what,
Growing pains.
this is out of sync, we need to get it back in sync, and this is the time to do it. So I think that's the right thing.
I'm glad their counsel advised them.
A pain.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
not us.
Not to go backwards real quick, just wanna finish up on the chamber stuff, if that's okay.
You digressed.
Is there gonna be an action that the board will take to move, or, cause right now in the budget, isn't it $25,000, so how does that get?
I think you've taken enough action, and I get the message.
Okay. So
So
that's an
You should
action?
say, send an invoice of
Okay,
$5,000 to the town.
Wait, had they been paid?
No,
okay, so I should tell them to send an invoice,
Yes.
okay.
we will accept an invoice of $5,000 to pay.
So even though the budget was approved, doesn't mean we have to expend dollars.
Okay. So I will include that in my email,
Because they were given notice back in December
yes.
that their budget for this allocation may not be approved. this
You know,
year.
I guess if they get pesky about it, then you might want a resolution, but
Okay, that'd be kinda weird.
I don't think that needs to go there.
Please send an invoice for the town's membership.
I have a question about another topic.
I have one more, go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead. I was gonna ask.
Christy Miles and I wanted to bring up whether there would be interest of this town board to attend the celebration of philanthropy, thank you.
It's the
Yeah.
Wizard of
Why
Oz.
did I get
It
this?
is, it's from the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
The chair.
It's the Community Foundation Northern Colorado sponsors this annually. They have been a group that have been hosting the leadership group and coordinating a lot of the efforts, and if you remember, they also hosted that event we went to last year, the Budweiser, center. Greeley, Fort Collins, Loveland all go, and they all buy a table. In fact, I think they spend a little bit more than that, but that's neither here nor there. I don't know if you have an opinion or not, but it feels like it could be a good idea for us to participate if we're interested. It is a commitment of $600 per table of 8, Thursday, May 11th, from 4:30 to 8 p.m. Keynote speaker is going to be Eric Weihenmayer.
You got it.
He's the most celebrated and accomplished athlete in the world. In 2001, became the only blind person to climb Mount Everest. Oh boy, is that the theme this year? Anyway, it's their celebration, so I don't know if there's interest. We probably need to let them know if we're interested in buying a table fairly soon.
Yes.
So
Cause it would be the board plus you would make it, is that,
that would be my recommendation.
it's for, unless, and then
No,
you
depending on
figure out
availability,
who
yeah.
can't come.
I think it's a good networking opportunity.
Where is it at?
It is at the, thank you for,
Embassy
that's Embassy Suites.
On May 11th.
Who's putting it on? I missed that.
It's the Community Foundation, Northern Colorado.
Gosh, why is that date sticking in my mind?
They host our quarterly leadership breakfast and kind of facilitate with the topic and the conversation, and there was some pressure. Because we haven't, but they're trying to break a record of 100 tables, and they had 91, 92 or something like that.
Thank you.
I think there are
But-
ones or people that participate in this too.
But I still think, I
So
think
they
it's,
want us to buy 3 tables?
no, I'm not sure, I don't know, I think it's worth, at least, we've never been, right? So I think it's at least worth attending and seeing.
Well, I
You know,
agree
there's
with
value.
Ken, it would be another avenue of networking, but also another night out. But,
We just saved $20,000.
Yeah, we did. We call it
I'll just go spend it everywhere now.
I think it's worth it too. They've graciously included us in the 4 biggest municipalities. I think it's worth it.
another pickleball.
It's all the
Another pickleball.
So is that
You bet.
generally a yes?
Yes,
And put a May
It's
11th in
$600
the calendar?
total,
Yeah.
right?
It's a Thursday,
So there's an
$600.
individual
Yep.
price?
No,
That's,
That
that's,
gets
that's,
it.
each.
Oh, no, that's it. So I will send them a yes, and then we'll get it on the calendar and ask that you RSVP to PAC,
We have a dinner tomorrow night, right?
We
For
do.
the Advisory boards.
dinner advisory board meeting tomorrow night.
Which, since this is my first, which are the boards that are there, or the,
they're
Every
all,
board.
Wait, we
Yeah.
invited
not,
you.
not
they're all in.
Poudre-
I didn't RSVP.
I don't think Poudre Trail, some of those are they?
What was
Poudre
that?
Trail?
The Poudre River Trail.
The
No,
tree board is,
that's
but
Poudre
not the Poudre,
Right,
Poudre Trail,
all your boards that you appoint and oversee.
yeah, the ones just that we appoint, so.
There's gonna be a little presentation, gift, and then there's a presentation by each, I think we asked each chair to kind of give a little, what they've been working on this year.
And like
Presentation.
a little PowerPoint
It's
slideshow.
usually a very nice event,
That's good.
well attended.
It's important.
Yes.
It's during April, which is volunteer month. So. Okay, so you got that, you got that, you got an item?
I had a question, I appreciate the update about the Kmart. They're up.
Kmart.
Boy.
What?
I'm sorry, Walmart.
That's at the brands. Came out to the brands.
I saw a TV
Fossil
show,
Ridge.
Jacqueline Smith.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Did you see that?
Just like, really?
Yeah, I thought, really? Yeah. I thought Kmart, they're still open. But,
Barely.
is there anything else you can tell us about the Walmart plan?
So they have to take some action by August something. I think it's first or middle of August. And that's when their site plan is set to expire. They've had it, I think they've had it extended twice. And the last time you all and everybody said, this is it, last time. So they said, they asked us to give them kind of what is it they need to submit to qualify as inactivity, action? And then how long does that qualify time-wise for them to stay, something's happening? But they don't have a per se timeline, but they do have extreme interest. That doesn't mean that they can tell me it's gonna be built tomorrow or when, but numbers are good, healthy in Timnath. They see everything activity-wise going around here. They are shuttering more stores than building now, that's for certain.
Yeah.
But
Really?
this, oh yeah,
Yeah.
Just like all retailers. yeah. But, this one is still on the list
Okay.
and still something they want to make sure they don't lose.
So they have to show some type of activity. which
Yeah, I
might
know.
be a preliminary site. preliminary
Yes, I
site
think
plan.
so, I think there is, what did, we're gonna talk about it tomorrow,
Okay.
Thursday at Dig, and I will have that, and I'll share that with you also, see.
This is one that we'll probably hear some public about.
I think it's less and less.
We didn't hear it last time for the
Really?
renewal.
Really.
But I think they do.
And you would not have anything this time if they select, if they get something submitted, it's in process.
It's already been approved.
Yes.
So there won't be a public hearing or.
In which case would it have to come back to us? I mean,
Should
if they change something?
They have all the
It's
approvals.
Okay,
Site
okay, I
plan.
just have to go ahead and move. If they don't show any activity by August, early August,
If they don't get something submitted,
right,
they own the land, their site plan's gone.
their site plan's gone, they can sell the land, they could, on previous boards.
Or submit your
Or
site plan.
submit their site plan.
Okay.
But then it becomes a more public process.
How
Mhm.
many acres is that approximately?
They own their site and a couple outlots for gas and parking, I can't remember, sorry, Ken.
The reason, I'm just thinking out loud, any possibility,
good.
you get to negotiate a few acres for housing authority. I don't know if it's big.
No, they are no longer
I'm CC.
building the marketplace size,
Oh,
which is
good.
small.
Okay,
And you.
They are going at the size, they have approval, if not, just a hair bit,
okay,
skosh bigger,
okay, so it would be an opportunity.
not,
Okay,
not on their land that they
Okay.
own.
all right.
The one thing we did talk about a little bit was, and again, we're gonna talk to staff is, but I know, I just can't recall how it's called out, but part of the approval was no lube and tire sales. Back in the day, there was a compromise, and we gotta go research that, but I was asking how important that was component-wise to them now or not. And I was asking myself how important that is to us nowadays or not, but I don't know if it's gonna be an issue, they may just say that's fine.
Is that to protect some of our local businesses?
I think that was it.
Yeah.
Well, we got the Grease Monkey, we got
Right,
the
we got Christian Brothers
Oil
Well,
King
this is back-
Henry's,
This
the
is
Christian
back-
Brothers.
this is 12 years ago.
Family Tire.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at what it would do
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Right, right.
What is the status of Christian Brothers?
Breaking ground any day.
Yeah, they had to
Take down.
close. They were,
On the ground?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
it took them a while to get to closing, but I think they closed, the owner owns it, and they're ready to go. Site plan's all been approved. They sent a really nice email
Yeah.
complimenting staff on
Yeah.
how they were treated, so
They
that's
really
really
did.
nice to see.
What's the latest on that gym that's going up by NOCO?
Oh, yeah, the weight.
Yeah, the way,
Haven't worked.
Kind of by power to play, wasn't it?
It's by the hot.
Yeah,
by
John
the,
Turner's
ice rink.
office.
It's right across from NOCO, it's right across from the
Yeah.
entrance to NOCO, I see.
Yeah.
They got their approval,
Yeah.
signed the site plan
Yeah.
agreement.
Okay.
You know, I think we did that maybe on a night you weren't.
No, I was there for it, I haven't heard anything lately on it, if it was moving forward, and I thought I had somebody asking, if there was any hold up with it or anything, so.
Village East is now come back and said the road that they showed us for access to the west is no longer feasible, because it has the same problems running through marshland. And then we all said, we knew that, you showed it. And they said, well, we just found out. So they're going to say they need a different route, but they still need a route. It's further, a little bit further north on their property to the west and comes down, but they're gonna pencil sketch it, but I said, you gotta show something. You cannot show something, cause I think you all consider them pretty favorably based upon another outlet.
Mhm.
Yes.
So, I'll just so you know, that's kinda cooking around.
And you know, the Severance
Suspicion.
property that's adjacent to that,
Mhm.
Severance is vying to annex that. Because
Yes.
all the property owners
west.
got notice of annexation.
Yes, well, that, yeah, I mentioned in my update that they have they have a concept plan now in front for referral. And I do wanna get that in front of you, and probably on May first, we'll bring that, or sometime soon. I know you're not gonna be here, and I wanna talk about that a little bit.
On the
but,
20th. You're gonna talk about that on the 24th?
Maybe May first.
Okay.
That and a couple other things we wanna talk about. Ooh, that reminds me, I do have a meeting with Best Way Concrete tomorrow, which is, and I mentioned last week that they have a application to expand on their site out there.
Oh, yeah.
And now what I call it the mountain of sand. If you haven't been out there lately, there's two big mountains out there now. They double and triple the size. I'm gonna kind of message tomorrow to them that business single-handedly is having a significant impact on quality of life in this community, as far as truck traffic. And I don't know where you went with that discussion today with Johnny, but
We had great discussion.
Good,
Yeah.
Good, good, very good.
They just changed owners.
it's a Canadian firm, but they still are represented out of, they still are represented in the Milliken office. They still kept all the staff. Yep. They just bought it and named it, and not change anything.
All right, keep elaborating, your quality of life in Windsor and,
Well, so I'm gonna see what happens tomorrow. We may have, I think, we wanna talk to you about what's our position. Again, this week is dedicated to some time from staff to give you if we have any positions we can take on that permit, and what we may want to take on that permit, and how we do that. So that's the conversation tomorrow with them, which sets up a conversation with us this week, which sets up a conversation with you all on what it means and what we can or can't do in the context.
did you
of-
say their permit's coming up for renewal or something?
It's actually, they wanna expand it.
All because of that.
Well, they have interest in moving all the way up to the northwest corner now, of 392 and County Line Road, all that.
Hmm,
Yeah, they wanna move up to the northwest corner of their property, which it's the southeast corner of 13 and 92.
Is this like oil and gas, where we can't say no?
Well,
Not that we want.
we
to.
haven't had that discussion, but I'm afraid it's gonna be limited,
Yeah.
but we're gonna dig around pretty hard.
What
See.
gravel mining rigs do we have? I mean, I'm assuming
State, it's pretty hard.
We have some gravel mining regs, and we do have a reg that requires a conditional use grant.
If it's in town.
If it's in town, and is it in town? Oh.
But there's a sliver thing that we're gonna talk about
Oh,
tomorrow,
yeah.
so we may have a sliver of a chance.
Okay,
Oh.
that's right,
So,
I forgot.
Yeah, there's a sliver issue here, I don't know what we're gonna learn about that.
are there some other topics that, because I just wanted to ask a couple questions.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Do you
I was
have
just
any-
gonna give him the update. I mean, I think the biggest takeaway from the CDOT meeting today.
Well, that was one of my points, I just wondered how we're gonna handle that. But
Yeah.
my other question, and maybe this will go very quickly, but I'm wondering, the planning, our planning department, have they been doing any work with the right in, right out at the Starbucks and King Soopers area? Have we been looking at that whole transportation area in there, getting onto 392, getting off 392? I sat out there the other day at the building, looking at Starbucks and what that's gonna look like. Have they, and I'm just asking, have they done any work with the traffic pattern around there to see if something could be done?
My recollection is you had that conversation during your site plan, and we talked about how it's all privately controlled, and that we have not determined that you should take it to go to Walmart and say, we'll build you roads for them internally.
Walmart can build that road as part of their.
We have, I mean, that was your interest to try and bring something in from the west, and that is on the Walmart site plan to do that. So if you choose to do that in advance, you could either do it and then tell that Walmart that you're gonna do it and ask for reimbursement when they develop. You might, I don't know, you had to ask, I assume, because it's their property right now, for the dedicated right of way. But I think that was our conclusion from the discussion, Ivan, was we would have to take the lead and do it and hope, get,
No, we,
weave
being-
in town.
we, meaning,
The town would have to build a road.
But why couldn't we just say, put that on Walmart, say a lot of that is there because of what your proposed possible plan is, therefore, as a condition of maybe extending this another year, you finish that road, because now it's causing an impact.
and that's kind of why I was probably asking the question, along with the Walmart discussion, and when they come in, it's even gonna be,
But if they never develop, then.
But at least in that, they got some skin in the game, and it's not just,
Maybe
what's
they
the
don't
bare
want
minimum,
to.
what's the bare minimum we should do?
With Walmart, is, I guess, basically.
I was gonna say, I think we have to wait to see where Walmart comes in on this whole thing
Right.
before.
But if you give them, they asked for what's the minimum we have to do, and if you tell them, well, here's one thing you could do.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of that is a product of that anticipation.
I
for that
agree.
building.
You know Starbucks damn well did their demographic work before they set that up to make sure it survived.
Right.
Okay?
So along those lines, I think the biggest thing that, and I think all of us were pretty much in agreement, and Johnny highly recommended, that for 392.19 and 257, we create a feasibility linkage analysis study of that corridor.
Okay.
Maybe even, I mean, I think there's potential partnerships there with Severance and participating, maybe Brown County, and look at the full big plan for that whole corridor, instead of just, initially right now, because we started talking about, I think Ivan mentioned, there's a school here, there might be a library, there's all these bigger things, so instead of just thinking about, 257 to 34, thinking about little areas, taking a look at the whole area and really creating a good solid master plan, traffic control plan, and they thought there could be maybe some RPP dollars, plus maybe some operation monies from CDOT. And, and so so the first thing is, how do we structure that? Because we probably need to take that to, that's an MPO request perhaps, to initiate that study. And, probably it's not till 2018, budget-wise, but because he recommended too, the more projects we could have in the queue, either design ready, design ready means that if somebody comes in and can't utilize their monies, but we're ready to go, then we could take priority.
and one of the other things they said about the roads themselves is 257, 392, and what's the other one that, there are three, that they are only
19.
responsible for those. And so all the other work needs to be done by the town. Dennis was sitting there he was sitting right next to me, he was taking notes after note, because they were saying, we will even work with you by even adding a person on your committee, to help you with the planning and be aware of the planning. So, but what was the other, there were three, and what am I forgetting? Oh, Harmony Road, is that the other one? But there were three of them, do you remember? Because 257,
So I think
Oh,
that's
maybe it's
maybe a
Colfax.
good idea to think about,
Colfax.
no, that wouldn't be it.
You said 392, 257, 19 road.
and 19.
And 19,
That's what Chrissy said.
yeah, because that's an extension of
But
Right.
that's,
257 right now.
Right.
I knew
I mean,
that.
that's
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
the corridor for the study.
Okay.
And they said they're responsible for the money in those three,
Mm.
but the rest of it that ties into it, then that's when we have to get into all the things that Christie just said.
Okay.
And makes sense, and, but,
Another big walkaway we had from the meeting is that Johnny had indicated that he would like to give the town money and have us run some of the projects,
good.
especially 257 from Eastman to Walnut.
And he said they would get further along.
It's too
and
small of
we
a
would-
project.
yeah, we
It's
could-
like, it's
yeah.
too small of a project. That if they got involved, it would probably turn into a $4 million project and have to
Right.
go all the way down to 34.
Right, good.
There's also the right-of-way issue.
Right,
If you want to-
no, you go ahead.
If the CDOT goes for right-of-way for future use, they have lost every one of those court battles.
Hmm.
So if there's opportunity for the town to secure right-of-way,
Mm.
then CDOT can buy it from us.
Mm.
Well, or even, and I think another part of that too is, if, as we work with developers along their major corridors, and if we know, if we have some future plannings, we know if we could bring them in the loop before
Right.
we plat or, you know, create something so that they are in the loop to know what they need to do in terms of right-of-way. Cause they would rather, I think they would rather obtain right-of-way sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Because they're harder after everything is in motion and then you know,
The land
harder
costs
to work
more.
with
The land costs
landowners
more.
and
Twice
everything
as much
else.
they said if they have to.
So they would appreciate any I mean, if we even
Right.
think there's somebody talking about something, they kinda like to at least know about that conversation so they can know what their window of opportunity is.
And we
Or
talked a
not.
lot about the roundabout, at the cemetery, and he said that, you know, if they start at 34, they could run that all the way through and across the 392 and all the way up, County Road 19 to the Harmony Road, and then turn there, and we were talking about a truck, you know, a truck detour, or getting trucks off 392, and he said that would be a good way of looking at from, all the way from 34 north to Harmony Road, then have them turn. And then that way they could come in from Severance, they could come in from all directions
Right.
and use that. Then we also talked about Crossroads, being a good truck alternate, and he, I think, was in favor of that. I think he also looked for the first, looked at what we're talking about, connecting O Street with Crossroads. And,
But they're ready to roll on that roundabout July 1.
and they're ready to,
Is what he made, is they made the statement.
I was very happy with the
Yeah, good, so it was
outcome
good,
of
it was
the
good,
meeting.
it was a good discussion, and you're a lot easier than Glade,
He has,
the park residents up in the park, the Canyon residents, they met Thursday night.
It's tough.
he's completely okay with the fact of exchanging road, exchanging
Oh, yeah.
257
Yeah,
north of 392
yeah,
up to Harmony
Mhm.
in exchange
for
one.
19.
That's right.
Mhm.
I mean, he likes the idea and they're in favor of it. I mean, when we start laying out kind of our whole long-term master plan for getting traffic around.
So, I thought that was a really good meeting. How often does that happen? Is that something that we should try
That's
to
the first.
I'm
Yeah, it'd be
suggesting that
happy,
maybe they
yeah.
ought to happen every 6 months or so, because it appeared that there was information they didn't have, and maybe some information we didn't have, and I don't know how much staff already knew of what he's talking about,
Mhm.
but,
Well, the other
there's
thing
so
is,
much going on in northern Colorado.
Right.
there.
Ivan and Paul brought that up later after you left, and
Yeah.
what I suggested is, if anybody has interest in that,
Mhm.
come to the MPO meetings. Or, I mean,
That's
anybody,
right.
because if you wanna know what's going on in the region in
Right.
terms of, you know, roads and who's doing what and where the funding's coming from or what funding is available, because anybody can come and sit in
Right.
on
Or
those
the
meetings.
packets, always have good minutes.
Right.
You
Well, I
don't,
think
you don't have to be
those, but-
invited, I mean, it's an open meeting.
Right.
And I think
And I'm not
Shannon,
saying you have to come all the time,
No,
but
I'm
if
not
you're,
saying
if
that.
you're interested, and then you can kind of gauge by when you look at the agenda, like, what you wanna hear about or not, you know, sometimes they're kind
Oh,
of dry and long.
Johnny said he's completely okay with the diagonal parking out past the railroad tracks, so.
but it was
Just
four
working
lanes.
just right there. He wasn't with me.
I will tell you this, I kinda made the joke.
Well, he said,
I kind of made the joke. I said, "We know you're Windsor's favorite, you know, so you know, town to work with and stuff." And he kind of chuckled. But then it is. I mean, they know that all the growth is happening here. I mean, yeah, they have their issues with all the municipalities around, but they know that this is where we're going to have a major problem if transportation's not figured out. You know, we don't want to be reactive to it. So
well, you know, he said that in these towns, and even though he lives here, he said, we don't think about all the things that you're telling us about, the schools, the different, where all the residences are building up, and like Peakview, what's that, you know, I don't see that, I just think about the traffic and the
when we start
roads.
laying out, well, there could be a library here. There could be, you know, and start getting some more of the what's going on in town. That's going to cause there to be more of an issue.
No Kathy Gillian, the transportation commissioner.
Oh, she was gonna attend?
Well, I thought he was gonna invite her.
Well, he brought two others.
Right,
and
but now he's transportation commissioner.
He said he.
That would be helpful to bring next time. I think, is to invite
Yeah,
her.
oh, yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause I
that's
thought
good.
You know,
it-
she's
I
gonna
thought-
run for I think a state or
Oh, is she?
a state seat. yeah.
But just to always be in contact.
I think he would be open to at least every 6 months
Yeah,
sit down.
okay, good.
And that was my point.
Quarterly may be a little too often,
but I think
know
every-
with
Saying
I think every
something
6 months you'd like to-
With just Windsor with us, right?
Against me.
So I went and
Vicky's
spent
still-
$10 million
where
today
she's leaving.
instead
Oh.
for NISP.
Yes.
Not your money, totally.
Is that the
So
one
2
we
4
just
years.
had?
Hey, can I say this really quick? The other thing strategically, like he didn't even know, oh, you're gonna put a high school over between here and Severance and all of the extra additional, I mean, that type is just letting him know what the
Right.
growth is, that was just another big one we talked about
Right.
how that is gonna be crucial, what's going out on east of town, so.
No, it's good that you. I'm glad
Especially
you
with the
guys-
intersection and everything, and so,
I'm
anyhow,
glad you
sorry.
guys did that,
Go
'cause
back to this,
my tendency is to get into an issue with them, and then he just kinda takes off on me.
Mm.
No, I think it was a very good discussion. I think they're open to, if we ever have other questions or need something more, they're open to coming back and having more discussion, you know?
That's good.
But I think it's because too, though, we've been very
Yeah.
proactive with them,
Right.
and they even said that they have a different relationship. CDOT has a different relationship up north, period.
Mhm.
Just because all of us, I mean, we haven't really gotten a really good share of money, so we've had to kind of figure out how do we make stuff
Mhm.
happen and work. And that's kind of made a difference.
Right.
you know?
Oh, a big thing he talked about also was they have, and I forget the acronym he used for it, but they have fire money or something like that, where they'll have some extra leftover money with a project that was under budget.
Relief money.
Yeah.
That they'd like to have us on speed dial, that they could say, hey, let's fund that now so that we don't get it taken back by Denver, do you see what I mean? And then we
Right, right,
lose it.
Right,
We'd rather have a place where it can benefit and know that and that was when he was looking at Dennis going, if we've got projects that are already laid out, plotted, ready to go.
we got the signals, so I think we'll move that up really quick, because we got the MPO funding, so that was a question to Dennis I had, is how do we move that up from 2020 or whatever it is?
I think he made that point very clear to Dennis, you know, that
He said get
Move on
that
it right now.
engineered
And-
now,
Right, okay, good,
get that design.
He made that, like,
engineered.
he said that to Dennis about 4 different times.
okay, good.
And-
You need to get going on that planning, cause, you know, on the-
NISP is doubling our budget this year, for next year, I mean, next year's budget. The group agreed, and we're gonna come back and revisit this, but I'll model our budget on this, so our share, so you can see what it means to us. But they believe, things are moving, they need to get right away, they need to get moving on engineering. And so, they would like to double up what they spent this year, which was $5 million budget, to 10 million next year. They think the permit is still coming out for final by the end of the year. Everything's been really positive, so the group said, go forth, plan on it, we're gonna keep on talking to our boards over the next few months. But right now, that's the number that they've paid for next year expenditure-wise for NISP. And still, everybody liked the idea, don't forget, and I will get this scheduled this next 2 weeks, is a June date for Collins 11 Water District, Severance and Eaton, to talk about NISP and our ability to fund and what it means, and to talk about regional treatment plant. So it's gonna be a joint meeting of the three of us. Quickly, I wanna hand this out. This is your future town board meetings, work sessions, that's different than what's in your packet, cause I kinda worked it over a little bit today, over the weekend. So, Parks Master Plan follow-up, next week is not only Eric coming back and talking about the master plan follow-up, remember, he wants to talk about what kind of parks we wanna build. He also wants to talk to you and get some guidance on what to do with rain dance a little bit. We have a final discussion with rain dance, they don't wanna pay any fees, cause they're doing Metro District parks, he wants to make sure where you are on that. So he wants to spend a little time with you, I think you should. Then he has a big package proposal, sponsorship proposal package, which we've been doing for several years, but it hasn't been nearly as well done and created. And it actually has expanded a little bit, so I said, you need to look at it, make sure you're comfortable with like a basketball court having a center court emblem of extraction oil and gas or something like that on it, but everything's for sale on Eric's roll, so that's okay. If you like everything for sale, then it's gonna be a good proposal. Then Rick's gonna be ready to talk about school resource officer. This next one is something I'd like to get on soon. We're ready to do our semi-biannual citizen survey. If you remember, we did not do it 2 years ago because we're doing the comp plan instead. And we thought that was too much stuff to get the citizens' input on. So we've done one in 11, 13, skip 15. This is 2017. It's the survey of the citizens on how we're doing. But there are about 5 questions that we can add. I went back and looked at those 5 questions. I would say about 2.5 are still relevant. And so I want to ask you if you have any questions you would like to ask that are not necessarily covered by the survey.
Could you
And-
send the current questions?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Well, we're gonna do a whole memo on it,
Oh,
so I
gotcha,
can
okay.
show you all that. But that's next week, is to say what's not here, and particularly I think one should be about something about growth. There's not a whole lot about that in the survey, but it might be something you'd be interested in. But like, there's a couple that are just not relevant anymore. Considering Christie's schedule, and considering that we already had kind of pegged 24th to talk about the DDA executive session and property purchase, we thought maybe instead of doing a work session on 24th, we could do an executive session before the meeting, in our normal work session time, and then go into the meeting and not have to do a work session, executive session afterwards. So I don't see anything, well, we still, right now, that's my schedule, but if you're okay with that, we might do that, if there's nothing that we had to absolutely.
And you're gonna be
address.
talking about the DDA.
Yes.
And so,
Why are you thinking there's another additional work session topic that you need to?
Well, I'm
cover?
still trying to figure out what to do with this best way thing here. That might be next week instead of the citizen survey. May 1st, there's something or two, I think, but I haven't got it figured out yet. If you look at May 15th, don't forget we have a joint meeting with the school, library, and fire district. And I'll be asking you soon for agenda items that you'd like to see on that, if you have anything particularly for that meeting. That's all I got. You probably should get up there, since it's a big crowd, get ready, and see what happens.
Hot drink?